Thank you so much, Morten.
And to our audience, apologize a little bit for the delay. We had some technical issues. That is always like when we have been used to Zoom, to Teams, to Skype, to anything. And of course, I use something differently. So always a little bit annoying. And also a small disclaimer. There is a slight delay because Uffe has a speaker on his table so he can hear what I'm saying. In the re-edits of this webinar, we will try to remove as much of the echo as possible. So Uffe, we were on the same plane back from Chicago last week.
Yes, it was a fantastic show. It was great to see you and also to see the rest of our clients. It's been too long, so it's always a pleasure to meet the clients in person and to show all the developments we have done in the years during COVID. So a great show, great to see everybody, both friends and clients, and also our small competition in the market.
I didn't think you had any competition, Uffe.
Not at all. No, it's a unique business. I think it's a small ecosystem where there's a room and a niche for everybody in the market, and this is one of the things I really enjoy about the label business, is that it's a friendly business, and there is a friendly competition, and it's always a pleasure to show up and share ideas and compete.
And when I didn't have so much time because I was relatively busy myself at Label Expo as well, but I was just wondering, you had a quite big booth this year, right?
Yes, not only a big booth, but we also kind of revamped our entire marketing approach. So there's a slight change. You can see the new yellow-orange. I can only see CMYK, but this is a new color we have and a new fresh look, and it was a pleasure to show this together with a new catalog as well. Now we only miss the launch online, and we expect by the end of the year we will also have a full new website with lots of possibilities.
The last time I saw you in person, not at the trade show, but in your wonderful headquarters here in Denmark, I was surprised because at that time you were just painting the floor for your demo center, and during the COVID it has been heavily used, right?
Exactly. I think the showroom we did was actually it was the best investment. We didn't plan for COVID, but when COVID hit, we had the showroom ready, and we could do live broadcast. We could meet clients in virtual present there every day, and I have Løkke here next to me today, and we've been all the time during Label Expo, during the COVID period, we have been doing online demos and also getting the usual feedback that we usually get just online. So I think this showroom, that has been really great for everybody.
And I can't help think about, sometimes I've been actually wondering if you at all have time to be the CEO of a company, because you were such a movie star together with Løkke.
Yeah, I think I had a couple of comments on that, but I enjoy the conversation online, and both with clients and also at a broadcast like this. But yes, I do find time now and then to run the company as well.
And looking at GM, you have expanded your headquarters, and it seems that you are in a pretty good place in the market. Can you give us a little insight for those who should not know GM? What is GM, and what are you about, and what is it that people buy from you?
Well, first about GM. GM is about customer relationships. That is all we are about, to grow print shops together with our clients. And we embarked on a journey. In GM terminology, we call it, we were a workshop, now we are a factory. And I think every place you look in the factory today, and you've been a part of this 2-3 year journey, it's like we had to stop and made a line in the sand and say, okay, done with being a workshop, now we need to be a factory. And we need to do this together with our clients. So this has been quite a challenging maneuver, being able to deliver machinery at the same time as we were moving 3 small factories together to one big lean factory here in Denmark. And I think just the effect of having 3 small factories put into one, that has been a tremendous boost for us. One of my favorite jokes in the company, that is when I talk to clients, people, they often ask me, what is it you do, Uffe? And I say, we make roll lifters, because that was what we were known for in the past. But that is certainly not the case anymore. And when people then have a look at our booth or our catalog, they can see we make capital equipment, we make lines that are 20, 30 meters long. We are present both in the label market, but also in the market of functional materials, where we do bespoke equipment for very custom labels or even other materials than labels itself. So I would say it's been quite a journey for the users to see, but also if you think about a little bit about GM, what makes GM unique compared to the competition is that half our machinery is actually sold not under our name. So we have half of the business unknown and half of the business is very well known. But we have a strong business providing machinery for most of the digital print manufacturers today. We provide some degree of the machinery inside their machine. And that is really the difference, where we have the volume and the support, and we make the difference because we have this continuous high volume production of finishing equipment that is also sold under other brand names. And that is, last time I checked, Morten, we are the only one in the industry doing this in this scale.
Unless it is so secret that you couldn't know, right?
Shh. Never tell your best secrets.
Uffe, I would like to revert a little bit on going from being a workshop to being a factory, because one thing is, of course, that you bring 3 entities under one roof, and the mentality and the kick it gives you to see. I mean, when I was with you, it really is astonishing factory you have built. I was just thinking, what does it do to the mentality? I mean, from a management perspective, it is like, can you also grow out of being the small company and the family-owned company to become like a global player in that journey?
Yes, but I'm trying to make sure we do not forget where we came from. We are a family-operated company. Even though we have investment in our company, it's still very much in the DNA, and a lot of our clients are family-owned companies. But I would say the biggest challenge for me, and I'm not the only one who had that experience, when you grow with a company from 50 to 150, then you just need to learn to let go. You basically need empowering the whole team around you. If you don't learn to let go, you will kill the growth of the company. And this has been by far the most difficult exercise for me, just to let go and say, okay, the factory will take care of it. And I've been skipping it parts by parts. First it was in our support team, then it was in our R&D, then it's been in our sales. So I've been gradually stepping out. At the same time, we have been establishing a very powerful management team here with years of experience in the business. So a part of growing and a part of the journey from a workshop to a factory is also hiring the right people and attracting the right talent. And this is actually extremely difficult. That's what I spent my time on today, is to set the right team, because this is a small world. Finding somebody who actually knows about label, that's very difficult. It's very easy to hire somebody on the street and give them a brush up about finishing, but that doesn't mean they know labeling. It takes a while, and it's part of the thing I really enjoy about this business, is that we have such specialized know-how here, and people come back to GM. We have people who work here for a series of years, and then they want to naturally try something else in their life. They go out in the industry, but then after a few years they come back. And I think that talks a little bit about the spirit and the things you can learn here. We empower our engineers. If you work at a big corporate company with 1,000 employees, you're never going to touch the actual machine, and you're never going to speak to the clients. the first thing I say to engineers when they start here is, yes, you can be here for a week, then I'll send you off to a print shop and you're going to work there on the floor for a week to learn what it's really about. And it's one of those things that that I enjoy about being here is I can see the young engineers, they are really getting enthusiastic about labels. They love labels after a while, and they return to labels because it's a growing business, and this whole transition from flexo to digital and to automation. If you are a new automation engineer coming out of school, there is nothing better than actually entering a business that is growing and the automation track is growing. So it's an interesting place to be at. Before, if we talked about print, people, they would just run away because it was a dying business, but label is definitely not a dying business.
Uffe, reverting a bit back to when I joked about that you have become a TV star. I can't help think about that when I see you with customers. I think that as a manager of a company, you need to understand what goes on in the market. Otherwise, you can't empower the people that you need and the product development you need. So I think that during the COVID, where it wasn't possible to actually go and visit people, the online media, which I think you have really explored in a great way, seems to be the second best way of having a dialogue and a contact with the customers. Is that something that you can, I mean, I'm sure you will say that of course it can't replace the physical meeting with a person, but is it close?
I like stories. I have another story about that. I have a young son, and when he was younger than he is now, he used to publish skateboarding videos, and he would come back home and then say, "Oh, great! I have 300 views on my newest trick." And then eventually he evolved a little bit into this YouTubing, and then he realized that we had like 100,000 plus hits on a video where I'm talking about a laser die cutter, and then he started to do impressionations of me, so make a joke of me presenting the machine on his own YouTube channel, just making, because I speak English with a slight dialect, and he can really pinpoint it. So, but that power of having 100,000 views on a video, that's a lot, and it's so much that when I walk around Label Expo, people from India will stop me and say, hey, by the way, thank you for that video on YouTube where you explained distortion. I really understand what it's about now. So we try to do these common world, label world problem videos where we explain stuff that's important and a pain in the production and show some understandable solutions to this, and also show that there is a progression. If you had that GM 10 years ago and you want to progress into automation, what are then the steps? What are your possibilities? And I really like doing these down-to-earth, no-nonsense videos where we talk about how can you make labels in a profitable way? How can you grow your business? And I think the power of digital is that you, online media, is that you reach such a broad audience. I mean, we're sitting here in Denmark, and people in India or in Peru or in South Africa, they're calling us to ask about how can they do their wine labels in a digital way. I mean, that's really something, and I think we are very fortunate to be in that in that position. But I believe we have just started the online media journey. Next year, I'll probably see you in 3D demonstrating a machine live or something like that. I don't know what the next thing is going to be, but definitely some of the heavy hitters in the world of investment, they are investing a lot in online presence and not only in 2D.
So we can expect to see GM in the metaverse. That's what you're saying?
Yes, for sure. We already did some trials with it. One of our good clients, CS Labels, they have done some interesting stuff with augmented reality, which is kind of the pre-generation to have a real presence in metaverse. And we also did it with a couple of our lines to just the simple stuff. Send me a photo of your print room, and I'll send you a small link where you can go in, and then you can actually see your press drop right into that room and look where is it placed. Something like this is just the beginning. Also, a lot of advances in online service has been made. We are now doing online service on all possible media, WhatsApp, Messenger, whatever you have. If you have something that's online, then we can get to you and we can help you in a fast way. But Morten, you like to talk and I like to talk. Maybe I think the clock is for the presentation, and then a few more questions afterwards. What do you say to that?
I was just about to suggest it, Uffe, so you read my mind. So let's bring up the presentation that you have done, and then we will chat afterwards. So thank you for a very nice chat so far, and I hope people like it. I liked it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. So I based my presentation today around some good case stories. We're going to get down into the heavy machinery. But first, I would like to talk a little bit about some case stories. Before we get all started, let's have a look on the points I prepared. So let's see if we can get this one to shift. Hang on a second. Yeah. So first of all, I'm going just to brief you on a few customer cases, and then I'm going to talk about the hot potato of today's world, that is digital embellishments. That is by far the high hitter also at the take back from Label Expo. Digital embellishments, digital embellishments, digital embellishments. That, and then when can I get it? When can I get it? When can I get it? That's kind of the questions we had at the show. So let's jump right into a story about GM. I think it really incarnates what GM is about. GM is about innovation, and GM is about client relationships. So if we start with these two guys here, it's Simon and Adam from CS Labels. Simon and Adam and we share some common problems. First of all, we are mad about labels, and secondly, we are also mad about drinks. So we are really challenged in that way. I remember the first time I visited these two guys. It was in a sweaty print shop with two old screen printers banging away and no digital, and we were discussing, okay, what can we do? How do we develop this? How can we go into digital labels? And that was the start of their long journey. And they started by investing in a digital press. But not so many years after, they were looking at that digital press and then saying, okay, how can we take advantage of digital and make some disruptions with embellishments to use a very pop word here, in like a blue ocean markets where we don't have a lot of competition. And they came up with the draft beer market. At that time, microbreweries, they were really taking off. And all of these multi-layer extended content labels, they were made in extremely complicated ways on flexo presses. And everybody who has been touching multi-layer labels on a flexo press knows that that's just a bad day in the print shop. So they were looking at a way to make this short run, digital, super fast delivery, no tooling. So what they did is they came up with a way to print in a digital way, and we together developed a multi-layer unit that could take full web width, digitally printed web, and laminate it together and register. It sounds easy, but believe me, it's not. But when we got it working, we used this technology to laminate and register together and then die cut the labels on a laser die cutter. And then we really got into this tool-free setup. Conventionally, when you want to do multi-layer labels, you are dependent on cliches, you are depending on colors that can print in the glue side, a lot of stuff, making it complicated. So we really took a complicated product and made it simple. And by the way, these guys, they are now the single biggest label printer, digital label printer in the UK. And this was just one of the things that helped them on that journey. A little closer look here to this is the barn label. That's also an innovation I love. It's using bi-level cutting in a laser die cutter or on a conventional die cutter to make a cut halfway through cut in the middle of the label, allowing you to open it in the middle like a barn door label. This is also this kind of innovation. When you look at your normal regular multi-layer label, you expect to peel it in the corner. but when you can actually open it in the middle, it just gives you a better impression and a whole new product feel. These kind of innovations, I love it. I just love it, and I love being a part of making the machinery that enables this because it's an embellishment, and embellishment is what makes the difference between standard labels and profitable labels. And this is where we are here today. Enough about this small story. We have a similar case, and then I'll stop my storytelling and get to some real hardware. Thomas here, he runs a small disruptive print shop in Denmark, so he's quite close to us. And he also can't stop getting ideas about funny labels. He's also doing the multi-layer labels and so on. But he once told it very clearly to me, and it's kind of a joke in the Danish print world. What I'm going to bring on now is the most boring label you can make, but it's also a high volume label. I'll not talk bad about the brand because everybody in Denmark loves this stuff. It's liver pate. It's really wonderful. I think Danes, maybe Germans and Swedes are probably the only ones in the world that appreciate this liver pate. But the joke is here that everybody can make this label at 2 euro cents or whatever today's rate is. There is zero room. It's just price, and everybody who runs a click-based digital press or similar equipment, they will not be able to compete. They can compete on the substrate price. We all know the print shops are getting consolidated today, so you have 3-4 players back competing about getting the lowest substrate price, and if you have a click-based press, you pay exactly the same as the neighbor. So this is, in my world, a very difficult market to compete in. And Thomas, he knew this. He says, I'm sick tired of liver pate. I want to make some labels that give bang for the buck, and I can run a short run and make money. So we started looking at embellishments. First of all, in Denmark, we are good at making various food products. And it really worked, getting smarter, getting you out of this market where you just have the same cost as the neighbor. And how did we get smarter in the case of Thomas? Well, we took a strange look in Denmark to wine. We do make wine in Denmark. We also make the boring kind of wine that comes on a container ship in a big plastic bag, and then it's put on nice bottles. But we actually print the labels here. So we need all the fancy stuff that you also have on the lines we sell to Chile, South Africa, Italy, and France. You actually need that here in Denmark. So the next step on Thomas' journey was actually to take his pretty well-driven label shop with a digital press and then adding more embellishment. And we did that by installing a high-end 50 tons hot stamper, so we could suddenly enter these markets with higher end value. And you also had the capability of screen printing now. And if you look at the other famous Danish product, this lakrids on the right, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but this is actually screen print, and this is gold in very tight register. So you cannot just do it with any machine. You need high-end quality equipment, and you need to learn how to use it. And I think that's where GM really makes a difference. We can tell you not only what equipment to buy, but we have a showroom here, the one with the nice TV camera, where we can actually learn you how to do the labels. We can run high-end jobs with foil, digital foil and screen day in and day out in our showroom. We don't rely on being able to have a machine ready in the production or so on. We have it all the time, and we have a professional printer who's been doing this in another job, making money on the labels, now presenting the products. And as you can hear on me, I'm a little bit enthusiastic, and I still would like to retain the capability to being able to go down and run the thing myself on this machine. I think that's one thing that will never change about me. I will always try to be able, it's getting difficult, I would say, but I would always like to be able to actually run the machinery myself. And why are we doing all this? I completely stolen the next slide. I must apologize for this, but there's a very nice lady called Vicky, and I saw a pitch from her about how the human brain works. And now we're getting a little bit into the end receiver, the user in the supermarket. If we touch something, and we feel it. By the moment we feel it and have it in our hand, we feel we own it a little bit, and actually we should buy it. So our brain is simply wet wired to buy product that we can touch and that feels nice. So there's a lot of scientific studies. Go on Vicky Skroll's website, check it out. There's a lot of studies on how the human brain works, but there is a reason to why beautiful labels works. It's not only because I think you should buy the GM machine. It actually works because it sells better. So enough about the theory. Let's talk a little bit about what we can do. 10 years ago, we started on a changing journey here at GM saying, okay, everything has to be modular. So 10 years ago, we decided to make all our machines in a modular basis so we can add these embellishments to the machines. And this is one of the key strengths today on GM machinery, that we can add stuff, remove stuff. We can build the line so it matches the niche that is profitable for the actual printer in mind. And I just want to broaden up your minds a little bit, because embellishment is not only gold and silver. If we talk a little bit about what are embellishment, this is an embellishment. This is a hole cut in a label with a laser. It looks easy. Just think about how do you get rid of the waste. Keep thinking about that. Then it's not easy anymore. This we have done on a laser. We have this for wine clients, but we also have it for a few pharmaceutical clients who likes windows in their labels so they can actually see the batch number that's printed on the medical box. We also have a few other guys that are selling high value products that would like to see if they can see the tamper-proof tag in the label through the label. So things like that, this is an embellishment. It's a module that we have, and there is a very nice video of me fooling around on the floor, very enthusiastic with that module. So this is one of the things that we made over the years. Another thing, in EU, they are fond of laws. And I think it's a good thing because it thrives our business. Every time there is a new law, we get to make a new module. Writing in Braille, that can be one application, but it could also be a warning triangle, as you see down here. Both of them we can make them in two ways, either digital or conventional, but it's an embellishment. We are taking the label to the next level, and we have the experience to tell you how to do that, what varnish to use, how to cure it. Will it work on PP? Will it work on a natural paper? It's a pain. It's really a pain. But we have been through that pain, and we know this. We know stuff. If we look a little bit on the hot potato of this show, the digital embellishment, there are differences. So the one on the left, that's a conventional hot foil. Here we enjoy the power of 50-ton pressure making the substrate completely flat. But we take the pain of a fixed tool. On the right side, we have a label just printed in South Africa. It's a wine label, but you can probably see the rounding effect here. That's coming from the glue that is printed digitally, and then we put foil on top. So on the right side, you have a digital hot foil or digital screen effect. On the left side, you have the conventional. They're different. It's not one-to-one. You have to look at what are you selling, but you can get a long way with the digital one at significant reduced cost. But this being able to compare different technologies in the same house and not only saying, hey, you have to buy the orange model because that's right for you, and it's, by the way, the only one we have. The strength here is that in our showroom we have everything. So you can compare and see how does the actual effects work on your actual product. Embossed labels, that is traditionally wine. And let me just make a very clear statement. I don't think we will be able to make a digital embosser. So if you're looking at very fine microstructures, you're still gonna need an analog tool, because I don't see anytime soon when we will be able to press 50 tons down and make a flat label. So having hybrid machinery is a big part of the future. Remember that word I said, hybrid machinery. That's where I believe a lot of the technology innovation is going to be made in the next coming years in label production. One of the things in hybrid technology is to get it all stitched together so you can follow that famous red line in your print shop. It's all about automation now. It's all about getting the cost down of doing a job. And I have this slide that I, by the way, stole completely from a good friend at Cycon. But let's have a look at it. It's a print shop shown as a system illustration, where you can see everything from the ERP systems, the RIP, the pre-flight, the e-commerce, everything. And where's GM? We are only here in the red circle inside here, digital embellishment and digital print. But that's about to change, because we are making partnerships with all the guys of the ERP, MIS and CRM systems now, because the modern factories, the factories of tomorrow, are interconnected systems that work. It is a combination of hybrid and analog technology. So we are evolving in this and making it a little bit more easy to be a print owner. So I'm getting a little note here that I'm talking too much, so I'm going to speed it a little bit up here. Just to show you the conventional hardware. It takes a long time to make wine labels today, because you need to make the tools, the edge tools, and you need to make the screens. If you look little bit about how do we do this differently, today with a digital print module, we can run tool-free high-build screen varnish using an inkjet technology. This is a huge, huge benefit. If you compare it to the setup time of conventional, this takes a lot of the conventional setup time out. But it's also another key important thing about this. Screen is by default the slowest technology in a wine line. So if you can keep your hot stamping, remember what I said about the 50 tons pressure, we're not going to digitalize that. So what did we do? We doubled the speed on that. So our hot stamper today can easily hot stamp at 60, 70 meters per minute. It can easily do that. But where the screen was the limit before, now the digital varnish module is much faster. So we took away one of the components, and it's always the weakest link in the chain that limits production speed. And this is one of the things where we have hybrid combinations. A question that popped up at Label Expo, yes, is but how do you do foil in this digital world? And actually, I just brought up this slide to eliminate the magic here. It's not so difficult. We can print a glue with the digital head, and then we can run a conventional cold foil process. So then you have digital foil. It's just about controlling the digital glue, the glue you want to control in a digital way. You still combine it with an analog flow with the foil, but the result you get is tool-free. You can make your product instantly. How does all this stuff work in a new modern machine? Well, to take it from the top level up, every module is an independent module that in a very popular way has a hot folder. It can be in the cloud or it can be locally stored. And there you drop down your PDF of your job with the different job data. For this presentation, it's out of the scope to go into the details, but this is the world of JDF and MIS systems. And our partnership with various partners in this, including the press manufacturers, make sure that we can provide a solution that matches this and has the key that connects into a digital workflow today. A thing about digital workflow is how you're going to communicate the job, and the blessing is the QR code. So if you look at a lot of our machinery today, every station can have a QR code. In the laser die cutter, you can have a QR code that takes the die cutting shape. In the auto slitter, you can have a QR code that sets the knives. So QR codes, either being with direct job information or just having a file path, that is the way to go as we see it. So let's get into some hardware. As I said before, we have spent a decade making our platform modular. Let's look at some nice hardware. First of all, the question again, digital varnish. And as you can see here in the red square, we made a module that just pops directly into our line. On this machine, we actually have two modules. The one in the red square is a digital varnish module that will put down that tactile varnish. The one here, I don't know if you can see my mouse on the presentation, but the one right to the next is that multi-layer module, again a module. These modules we can install in a day, so we can easily separate the line, plug, 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 and you have extended functionality. Of course, you need to have the newest and so on, and you cannot come with a line that's 15 years old. But if you come with one that's, let's say, 5 years old, there are possibilities. So we always try not to leave the clients with the loss of investment. It's important for us that it's possible to upgrade the equipment and prolong the return of investment and make sure that the product has a high resale value and a high return of investment. Let's talk a little bit more about that hybrid. I just can't get that word out of my mind. So, hybrid, how could that look on a wine line? Here you can see our conventional high-speed wine line to do spirits and so on. We have the very fast hot stamper. That's the one here, if you can see my mouse, with the foil tower on the top. On the right side, the troublemaker, the conventional screen unit, very slow. We can take that module out and directly plug in the digital varnish module. Then we have high-speed wine line. Also, the clients that have this platform and are using it every day, they can either keep their existing screen and then plug in a digital screen, or remove the screen completely and put in a digital unit. It depends also on the availability of tooling. Of course, if you have your own in-house screen processing plant, you can get a screen with a few hours, and if you're on really low volume, the old system here is still competitive. But if you are in a location where it takes a long time to get the screen, or you run very short runs, the digital is more appealing. How does it look when you combine the best of two worlds? We showed that at Label Expo. We had some of these beautiful samples. Here you can actually see the very nice hot foil. That's the gold. And you can see the high build screen. Now I really zoomed in so you can see all the details. This label just, it will blow your feet out or off, if I can say that in English. It's really a nice demonstration of what we can do combining digital and conventional technology on the machines. A big thing about automation today is related to the die cutting. So laser finishing is a module that takes the tooling out of die cutting. So it's really really important to have the possibility to run just pure digital with the laser, but also hybrid. Having the possibility to do laser and die cutting on the same line, or having two lines. If you have a print shop and you're growing, you are probably growing in different segments, ultra short runs and longer run, and still I see the laser being strongest in the short run category. And that's why we made the very compact and efficient laser module. You can actually see it here in the standalone version, where it's just roughly 1.2 meters. So that's all it takes to do laser die cutting. You can then combine it as an offline machine with a flexo and foiling group and an automated knife slitter here. So this kit is fully auto. It reads a QR code at the start of the job entry here into the cutting zone. It cuts the label, and it reads another QR code for the knife. We have clients that stack more than 300 jobs, different jobs, into one row, and just leave the machine in what I call lights out mode. During the night, it will cut. It's very reliable if you get a little bit smart about this, because now your limiting factors actually gets into, can I remove the matrix? Of course, if you cut a Christmas tree out, removing the matrix will be significantly harder than cutting a round circle. But these are things that we can help with, and you can try out in our showroom to see that if your actual jobs and materials, they work out. But it is still the best solution for very short run digital labels, and also for locations where die plates have a long lead time. I know you're going to see this presentation like 100,000 times, so I prepared some highlights, some unique points on why lasers are really great for short runs. One thing I would like to say on this is that always come and touch it. Come and see it here in our showroom, and then we can tell you more. Another thing is that our lasers are sealed. We'll get into what that means, but that's really important to have a sealed laser system. Lasers is the machine where we've done most work with automation on. So just skipping a little bit the lasers, I know there's probably a lot of Q&A on the laser a little bit later, but another question that came up on Label Expo is, should we run GM, should we run inline or offline? It seems to be like a religion. People, they don't know what to believe anymore. And my view on this is actually, if you look at this setup, it's a setup we did for Epson. It shows an inline configuration, but there is something different here. This is not the world of a full hybrid press. It's a combo press. So this one can actually run inline. Everything goes left to right here. Or you can run the rewind on the press itself and the unwind on the finisher itself. So you have the best of two worlds. Because in my opinion, it depends solely on your job mix. If you do 100 different labels a day and you do not have a laser die cutter, running inline makes no sense because you're going to lose all the time setting up the die plates. On the other hand, if you are in the US, where we just know that the job runs, they keep getting longer and longer and longer, running inline makes a lot of sense, because if you run chocolate labels every day for 8 hours a day, keeping it inline saves you a job shift. That's all I have about the inline offline. When we talk inline offline, briefly, I would like to say that we just partnered with CERM. CERM is one of the leading providers of MIS systems. And for example, just imagine a laser die cutter and controlling that job workflow in a print shop. You need an overall control. And that is what we can do with systems like CERM. We can also calculate waste, calculate operator efficiency, find out how much time do you actually spend on making one product. We can print out closing labels saying this roll is 100% verified. All the nice stuff, but you need an overall solution. Actually, the funny thing about the print business is that I find that most print shops, they have CERM. They just have their own homegrown version of CERM. And I think we are now actually at a point in history where we see, both because of the acquisitions made, but we also see a kind of standardization around CERM, around not CERM, but the CERM label hub, you name it, label tracks, the various systems, but standardization around JDF, which is a relief to see. Short about GM, I promised to high-speed these. Modern lean factory, 9,000 square meters, 40 years of experience, super clean place. Come and visit every time. Always, we are proud to show the factory. We are located around 20 to 40 minutes from Copenhagen Airport, depending on the traffic. It's us. We have the big one here. We don't have the barracks. We will tear them down. But this is our setup. Modern factory, 50 machines on the floor at the same time. Completely lean, organized system. Well documented quality system in place. And we have our showroom. We try to keep the floor shiny as this always, but here you can see we have big wine line laser die cutter, and in the other end we have the more economical mini finishers and other well-known products like the core cutter. Global yet local. We have a lot of local presence around the world. We are present through our OEM relationships, but also through our 20 plus agents worldwide that we, by the way, train every year here at GM to make sure they know what they're talking about. Hotline support. We have dedicated engineers here in Denmark and also in the US. We have a call center. We have a ticket system. So we will get you whatever your problem is. We will be on it and be able to support you on every thinkable platform. And today's iOS 4.0 also means that the edge is now on our side. We can look into the machine all the way down to what sensor is actually defective. That's something that changed in the past couple of years, and it really revolutionized modern support. Yeah, they're just good guys. I'll just speed through. I can see I'm a little bit out of time here. So thank you for your attention, and I do believe, Morten, if we have some questions coming in, now's the time.
You are right. So let me just bring you into here as well. Here we are. Uffe, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. And don't worry that you talk a lot. We have the time, so it's always interesting to to learn. First of all, I think that the journey that you have been on as a company, I mean, I owe to say that on INKISH there is actually, and we did an interview, I think maybe 1.5 years ago, where we didn't know each other, and I still find it very good. So that is a way to get to know a little bit about you as well as a person. The technology you provide, it seems to be very much, I know we have some questions, but just before we go to the question, the line of product that you as GM deliver seems to be very much like end-to-end solutions. Is it typically in the label and flexible segment that you have one supplier for maybe, let's say, for your printing, and then you have one supplier for the finishing part, or is it also typically mix and match like it is in the commercial market?
I would say it is a mix, because if we talk about a greenfield installation with a digital press, typically GM will be the sole provider of the finishing, the core cutter, the sheeter, the roll lifting equipment. They'll buy the whole lot from us. But if we have an existing print shop, typically they will have an older Mark Andy, an older Gidui or Neil Peter or whatever, and then they are used to having multiple suppliers for both their tooling but also from their machinery. But in this printing world, actually a lot of it is still very relation driven, and this is also very much what we are about, that if you have the relation and trust, you sell the product.
100%. I am a little bit particularly interested in the laser because again, I come from the commercial space, and every time anybody says laser and paper, it is always brown edges and too many problems. Is that the same with the GM lasers on label?
No, I think the days of brown edges are gone, and the laser technology has evolved. There's a lot of technical explanations, but basically we are able now to burn so quick that the smoke never settles. And that's the trick about a modern laser, that the speed of the mirrors is so fast and the suction so good that the smoke never settles. And the browning, it's a little trade secret, but the browning actually doesn't come from the burn. The browning comes only from the smoke. So get rid of the smoke and you will get rid of the burning.
And okay, that was a good, I didn't know that, so that was a good learning for me as well. And Uffe, talking about lasers, is that something that is like an off-the-shelf product, or is it something that you have developed yourself?
So the lasers, we started with, as many of our colleagues in the business do, they just buy a laser system and drop in. There are quite a few manufacturers of laser systems, Chinese and European, that you can drop in. But we just have to give up on that because it was not designed for labels. So today we develop the software and control and the full laser system ourselves, and we have in-house engineers that develop these systems from scratch. Of course, the laser gun itself we buy from one of the big sources, but everything around it we build and design here at GM, and that's quite unique.
I mean, the laser must be from Star Trek or something like that, right? Or Star Wars.
I took it off the Enterprise.
I knew it. Uffe, I mean, laser is short for like high intense light, basically, with a high temperature. High temperature in substrates, how does that go ahead in? I mean, can you use it for all kind of substrates, or is there limitations to where you can use it?
Well, laser is like a magic flash. Let me just tell a little story. We had a client who came in with a product, a special label substrate, and we ran it in the laser, and the labels, they die cut it in reverse, meaning that we were not cutting the top layer, but the liner was falling out under the machine, and the substrate was just continuing through the machine. And this is one of the magic things with the lasers. First of all, it is invisible. Secondly, it may penetrate some materials without burning, without putting any energy into the materials, and other materials may absorb it 100%. So it's all about how well does the label material absorb the energy of the laser. And there is a balance, because typically in laser production you use different materials for the upper and the under layer. So you need to make very much sure that your upper layer is absorbing more than your under layer, because else the laser is going to do the magic trick and cut right through the top layer and then cutting out on the reverse side. So that's one of the things with lasers. Another thing is environmental considerations. When you cut labels, there will be some smoke, and you need to be able to argument and document that it's not dangerous to yourself. So we know, for example, that PP and paper will cut well and it's safe. For example, PVC will release chloric acid that is not entirely healthy for human beings. So we always say, come with your material, let's do some testing, because materials, they change and evolve every day, and it's no fun getting a laser and then not being able to cut because it's either too toxic or the cutting quality is not sufficient. But the good word is that substrates are getting better and better for labels, because of course the big manufacturers of label substrates, they are aware that some labels, some materials work better on lasers than others. So we say, come and try it. That's definitely the best way to find out.
And talking about that, sustainability, I mean, everybody knows that the energy prices are high, so how is energy consumption? How is the CO2 emissions of this kind of signal? Is there anything that a converter should be worried about?
Yeah, so first of all, we do compensate a little bit. You know, we also print solar cells at GM, but that's another story. But the good thing about a laser is that it actually uses very low energy. So if you know the principle of a magnifying glass, you can take a very little amount of sunlight and turn into a very sharp spot that burns. It's a little bit the same with the laser. We use very little energy to cut with. And if you combine that with other environmental efforts we have made, for example, we have LED curing and we have regenerating drives. So when our machine breaks, they actually absorb the energy, and when you start again, they use that energy to start up the machine. So if you look at the footprint, energy, CO2 footprint and energy footprint of the machine over the last couple of 10 years, really a lot has happened. We control also the fans in the machines. In the good old days, they were just running full fan all the time. Now we only run the fan just enough to keep us within the specification of the component we are cooling. So I call it like a 365-degree approach to energy. We look at the entire machine and say, okay, where is it that we can benefit? And on lasers, there is specifically one thing. Our lasers are sealed. There are some of the low-end lasers that are using either CO2 or another gas, especially the ones using CO2 are not so nice. They are using it on cans, and they are using a can of high density, high compressed CO2 every month. If you're looking for a green profile, you want to take a large turn around that kind of laser and get a sealed laser that will run on the same 6 to 7 liters of CO2 for 7-8 years. So if you're looking to have a green footprint and you're looking to calculate what's the CO2 cost of each label, think a little bit about what you do in your finishing and how you do it, because there is a lot to say there.
When you say 6-7 years for example, for the CO2, I mean, even though it's sealed, I take that your service and technician can replace it when needed, or is that the lifetime you can expect on the heads and how it works in a press or in a finishing equipment, or how should a converter look into that kind of thing?
It's actually only the bulb inside the laser. So of course the whole machine does not need to be replaced, but it's like if you know the style of halogen bulb that are these kind of sealed tubes with a high voltage connector in each end. A laser is very much similar to that. So even though the laser may look very big and come from the enterprise, if you open it up inside, you will find quite small glass tube, and in our case will it be with a sealed CO2 gas inside with a very low volume, where some of the lesser good lasers, they would not be completely sealed, and then they would need to pump in new CO2 into the system all the time to keep it running, which is of course not very fortunate.
And what about if we look at using a laser from a converter's perspective? I mean, does it require special files or any special pre-press, and also maybe maybe not in the same area, but I mean, if you look also the maintenance of a machine, like adding this to a solution, is that something that I mean, tell me a little bit about. Let's start with the file thing, please.
So in terms of the files, that's the easy part. It takes the same files as a normal die cutter. When you order your file, you can order them in two ways. Either you order them in circles or squares by dimension, or you order them in fantasy shapes. It's exactly the same for the laser. So there is no difference there. Where the big difference is if you do 30 small 1 centimeter circles across the web, the laser is like a drill. It has to cut a hole, move to the next hole, cut a hole, move to the next hole. So if you know you're only doing labels for microelectronics, you really have to think about the volumes and the speed, because any laser system on the market would be very slow on that kind of labels. If we're looking at our regular labels, so 3 across, 10 centimeter in diameter, it has a competitive speed. There are some things about the edges on lasers. All materials, they melt differently, and that's why I say come and try it. Because if you're looking at a shop that's making print-on-demand labels ordered on the web, you can basically get away with everything. If you're working with a guy who makes wine labels to a €1,000 wine, the guy's going to look at how the edge on that label look, and then I would think about it and have a look. I would say it in this way: it is a different tool. The cutting quality of the edge is not similar to a conventional die cutter. So you always have to judge, is this cutting quality good enough? It's different. It's not bad, but it is different compared to a conventional tool.
In your start of your presentation, you showed a fantastic white wine and that label, and you said that now you can start thinking about how you get the material off from that hole. But I don't think you answered it. Can you tell me, or is that a trade secret?
No, it's not a trade secret, but I would like to show it in the showroom. Basically, what we do is we make the label, the hole that we cut. We actually don't cut through the aligner. We only cut through the first layer. That's the first important thing to understand, because you don't want to damage the liner, because then you cannot dispense it in a fast way. Then the liner will snap. So we only cut through the upper layer. But then we made something that is similar to a label shifter. If you are familiar with a label shifter, that is a device that will move the label from one web to another. And that is the trick that we make the inner circle shift to another web by doing a little clever trick. So we can actually rewind the waste on a roll. So we kind of make the hole airborne and then make it stick on a new material and then rewind it. And that's the whole trick, because in finishing, what you do not want is loose waste, because loose waste is going to get everywhere in the machine and make a jam sooner or later. So you want to control your waste and get it either sucked out of the way or put it on a roll. And this system here we developed, we are putting it on a roll.
And when you tell a story like this, Uffe, I can't help think about that. You also said in the beginning that you love labels, and what I learned from this session here is that the passion for the label, the technology that enables it, and also being very focused on finding solutions. I mean, you have a blast with your work, but your customers must really like working with specialists like yourself.
I think that's why I enjoy very much going to work. I have people around me now today that are learning me the new word no, because in the past I was very known for that you could walk into this shop and present an idea and we would build the machine regardless if it was profitable or not. We learned to think a little bit different over the years, but I think the man for the ideas is still very much inside me and the R&D department in GM. But as we grow, we also became a little more commercially minded.
It's a good combo.
Can you make 10? I like the number 10 much better than 1.
Precisely. Uffe, it's been a wonderful hour here with you, and it was, though we didn't speak much at the Label Expo, it was great to see you. It's always great to see the Danish flag at the expos. I mean, that little nationalism we have the right to take advantage of. So, Uffe, thank you very much for participating here. I really enjoyed talking to you, and a wonderful presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to show some Danish dynamite, and please come by the factory anytime.
Thank you. And this was the last session of today. Wasn't that wonderful? I think it was great. We had like 3 great companies showing different solutions and different. Sorry, I'm muting you because then we don't have the echo, Uffe, so that's why we have solved this technical thing here. We were actually, by the way, I should tell you that we were supposed to have something from GM's demo shop, but we had some technical issues, so that will be the next time. Tomorrow we only have one session, and that is at 10 o'clock. We have Plast Grommet from Spain, showing very exciting how you can automate and do some exciting finishing on large format as well. And then Uffe has been talking also about the embellishment side today. And on Friday we have packaging and embellishment as a full day with, I think, 7 sessions. So you can look forward to that. And that is it for now and for today. So everybody, enjoy yourself and have a wonderful afternoon, evening, wherever you are.